Hello, Soldotna Pioneer Trekkers. We're doing another training video in regards to how to pack for the trek. We're doing something a little bit different this year. In years past, we've had everybody pack in a pillowcase. And they got kind of monstrous, a little big. And in the lower 48, we saw a lot of trekkers that were using buckets to pack all of their gear in. This was going to help us out because we're going to use our bucket for multiple purposes on the trek. You'll be able to use it around camp, to sit on, to take to a devotional to sit on, and it'll keep all your things all nice and dry for the trek. So if you go onto the Soldotna Trek webpage, you're going to find a packing list. And some of the important things we really want you to pay attention to are the do's and the do's and the do nots. And I'm not going to go over every one of those right now, but one of the big ones that's on there is no electronics. Parents, we really want you to help us out with this. And youth, this is the one chance that you get to just kind of unplug from the world. You're going on a pioneer trek to honor those that came before you. Leave the world behind. Parents, when you bring your kids in Wednesday morning for the trek, we would like you to ask them for their phone and to physically have it in your possession when you drop your child off. That will really help us out. If you do end up with your phone on the trek, we're going to have a little box that everybody's going to put their electronics in. It'll be returned to you later after the trek. So go over those do's and don'ts. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now. And we're going to just go ahead and do a mock presentation on how to pack. So I'd mentioned in years past we used a pillowcase. I'm still going to use a pillowcase, but I'm going to use it a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and put it inside my bucket. So that way when I put my gear in my bucket, that way when I get to camp and it's raining and my stuff will still be dry, we can set up the tent, I can set up my sleeping bag, my pad, I can go in the tent, I can pull this pillowcase right out of my bucket, set it right on my sleeping bag, and everything's going to be organized and not strewn all over the place. So take some sort of bag or a pillowcase, put it in your bucket as a liner. We're going to go ahead and start loading. On the list, it talks about bringing something for sleeping in. I'm bringing a simple pair of sweatpants that's fairly light to use for sleeping. I'm also going to take a nice pair of wool warm socks to wear in my sleeping bag that's completely dry, that I'll be able to keep my feet warm. So we're going to start at the bottom. One thing we wanted to mention is that you can put your shoes, you're going to have an extra pair of shoes you've been asked to bring. You're going to be wearing your boots Wednesday morning when you show up to go trekking. But you're going to have a lighter pair of tennis shoes that you can pack in your bucket. Now some of the guys have big feet, size 13 feet. They just can't fit everything in there. Some of you girls, it'll be easy enough to fit. My wife was able to do it with no problem. But I'm going to kind of simulate what a guy with big feet would do. So we're going to go ahead and start. We have a towel, we have underwear that we're bringing, and we're going to pack in really tight, and we have an extra shirt, extra pants. And as you can see, my bucket's getting kind of full already, but we're going to make this work. So we have our socks. I have a whole nother video on the proper footwear. You want to look at that. It's on the webpage, and what kind of socks to bring for the trek and to keep your feet warm and dry. We have for the guys, it's on the list, it had a small day pack. Make sure it's really small. This is a simple bag that I can use to carry extra water or my rain gear when the boys separate from the hand carts and they might not necessarily be with the girls the whole time. So something to carry a few extra things in. Again, don't make a big, as far as long johns, I'm bringing kind of layers. I'm wearing an Under Armour type shirt as a layer under my Pioneer clothing, and I kind of have a pair of kind of sports long johns that are really light that I'm going to use just in case it's really cold. A bandana, good work gloves. So we're starting to get there right now. One of the things we wanted on the list is it talked about moleskin. In the previous video, I mentioned that the Ma's and Pa's, or the adults, and also the medical team will have plenty of moleskin. But the list also asked you to bring some. So you can go ahead and grab a little bit just in case you have some sore spots that you need to take care of. One of the things that, so I have my moleskin, I have some extra duct tape that I've rolled up on a pen to condense space. I have some sunscreen. I have some bug spray that is in a very small containers. If you don't have small containers, then don't bring it. We're going to provide it as each family will have sunscreen and bug spray for you. No aerosol cans. We don't want any aerosol. So we have our toiletries, just simple toiletries, our toothbrush, our deodorant, chapstick. You might want to just put the chapstick in your pocket so it's available for you and it's easy to access. So rain gear. We could do a whole video on rain gear. So I'm going to probably spend a little bit of time here. We don't want you to get bankrupt here to go outfit your kid for the trek. But if they have good rain gear, it's really going to help. So this is a breathable rain coat. And it also works as a great layer. I can put my regular trek coat on that I'm bringing over the top of this, and I can be pretty cozy and pretty warm. It's breathable. As I'm exercising, I'm not going to get overheated. So most of the rain gear, like for ponchos, are kind of a plastic that are not very breathable. That's all right. If that's all you got, that's what you have. I have this wonderful poncho that my wife uses on the trek because she wears a skirt. And it goes further down towards the ground and it protects more of her skirt. This is a ripstop material, very breathable, extremely light. It packs into a very small ball, very super easy, and it can be laid out on the ground, used as a tarp, used as a shelter, and that's going to fit in your bucket very, very nicely. One of the things prior to coming on the trek, maybe a week prior to coming on the trek, is you can use some camp spray to waterproof your tennis shoes or other things that aren't as waterproof. Make sure you don't do it the same day as the trek. It smells really bad, and your whole vehicle, your cart will smell like gasoline. It doesn't have a good smell. So let me talk about, we've kind of covered the bucket. We've got a couple more things. We're going to talk about your silverware and a plate. And this is what you're going to bring. We'll have some paper plates you'll be able to put in your pie tin or your eating. So I have just basic silverware if you have that I can use. I'm all packed up. Before you get on the handcart, you're going to be taking this cup out of your bucket, and it'll be accessible to you all times on the back of the handcart because we have a water jug that you'll be able to be really good and hydrated. So I think we are pretty well packed. So I'm going to seal my pillowcase over. I'm going to put my lid on, and I am good to go. So now the second part of the packing that we want to talk about is your sleeping bag and your pad. We're going to go ahead and show you an example of what not to bring. We are not going to girls' camp where we're hanging out in cabins. So we cannot bring big monster sleeping bags. Do not bring. We can't bring big hunking pads. Do not bring. We cannot bring big hunking pillows. So those are something we're not going to have. This is going to be probably what most of you will be able to bring. If you have a backpacking pillow, go ahead and bring it, as long as it fits in your sleeping bag. I can make this one smaller. I can stuff it in this sleeping bag. And so when I come, I'm set up. Everything's labeled. It says Forbes. And I've got my pad labeled. It's all tight. It's ready to go. And my pillow is in my sleeping bag. When you check in for the trek, they're going to put some tape on here for each kid, some ribbon or whatever. I can't remember. They're going to mark you with a color-coded ribbon so it'll be easy to identify when we unload everything from the truck. This is an example of what I'm bringing. I have a nice stuffed sleeping bag that's rated probably down to about 30 degrees. It doesn't have to be a super winter bag. And I've got my tennis shoes secured to my pad. Everything is marked so that I know that it's me, and I'm ready to go. So when I get on my handcart, I have my coat, I have my hat, I have my bucket, I have my shoes on my feet, and I'm ready to go. So that's pretty much it. We want everybody to come prepared and to have a great time, and we will see you on the trek.